his descriptions of things are almost exactly what the quantum is. And so that's why I would argue that when Einstein says he has a secret source, I'm thinking the most likely candidate would be Leibniz, who the Germans do think was the greatest German genius that ever existed. Some other things he invented. A war plan, basically. When he was a kid and the Duke sent him to Paris, his main task was to keep the king from using his nice new white uniformed army from attacking Germany. You know, the king loved watching his army march around on the grass. You imagine it, you know, just the green fields, you know, big, if you've ever seen Versailles, you know, big lawns, big fountain constructions all over the place. Just basically entertaining thousands of nobles there to keep them from going home and causing problems. That was his goal, basically. You know,
Was
keep
that
all
really,
these aristocrats right here at Versailles, and that way they can't
keep
mess.
them drunk, man.
Made him a real powerful autocrat because now he was in charge of everything,
Right.
and all his
So is that kind of how the French court worked?
supposedly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So and Leibniz is there, right? And his job is to keep Louis, the Sun King, from using this beautiful army to actually. I like watching them march and everything, but I want to see them actually go kill something, you know. And the Germans are, not, close. So, their worry was that he was going to get bored and want to attack Germany. And by the way, he did eventually. But so Leibniz's job is to get him interested in something else. So Leibniz arrives with a battle plan to go to Egypt and attack Egypt. And once you've captured Egypt, then Leibniz had this plan where along the one particular area you could build a canal. We've never done this before. You build this canal, and then shipping would be able to go through that canal and get to the Indian Ocean. It would be a much shorter route than going all the way around Africa. Whoa. Well, he never actually got the personal interview with the king. Instead, the plan, they said thanks, and they put it in the safe. And it was still there when Napoleon found it and decided, hey, what a great idea. And so, of course, Napoleon famously attacked Egypt, captured it, and hired an architect named Suez to build the canal. It was done, and in fact, Leibniz's plan worked. It still works, actually. And one of the most curious things out of all of this was, did Napoleon really have his cannoneers fire at the Sphinx? And my understanding is no, that it was already that way. So it wasn't Napoleon's fault that the Sphinx's nose is kind of scrunched, a piece fall off. It's kind of interesting. Actually, I can't imagine Napoleon doing that. I think he would have actually chopped it up into pieces and brought it home.
Didn't he? Isn't that the obelisk on Champs-Élysées?
Yeah, they brought.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still fighting over sending that. They want it back. Egypt wants it back because it's like that's why Egypt always kind of tilts, because the other. No.
Because it was right there on Bastille Day or whatever. You could see that obelisk.
But if you look at Egypt with Google Earth, as you're coming down, you can see Egypt's kind of tilted on one side. They need the obelisk back. So. Sorry. No, I'm not.
Yeah, you say that all the time. It's really funny.
Sorry.
Yeah. I apologize for everything you said.
What else? I have my own little notes somewhere. Phonetology. Oh, thank you. University of Tennessee. What do I do with my own notes? It's pretty sad. Can't even find my own notes. Descartes. You know, when we were talking about Locke, I should have also mentioned Jefferson, and I did not. But so here's my notes on Leibniz. Right? So topics you might talk about is philosophy, doctrine of monads. Pre-established harmony is absolutely fascinating. The law of continuity, optimism. This is best of all possible worlds. Ever heard of that expression? Voltaire made fun of that, and Candide, by the way, right? That's the point. And by the way, Dr. Pangloss, which is just kind of, instead of polyglot, Pangloss is all. Pan is all. You know, Peter Pan is the universe, and gloss is like a glossary. So Dr. Pangloss is Professor Know-It-All, basically, right? And Leibniz was the caricature that Voltaire was making fun of, by the way. Some people, by the way, say that Voltaire is making fun of himself as Pangloss, and that's just outright really dumb. That is really, I couldn't believe it when I read that, and somebody said, "Oh, it's really Voltaire." I was like, yeah, that hurt your head, you know, like a moment. Where did they get that? You know, he's making fun of Leibniz. You know, and it's like everyone else knows that. What was that person reading? I don't know. But so optimism, theodicy that's the story of God, how God is, why God does the things he does, the existence of God, the problem of evil, the question of optimism. So, doctrine of monads. A monad is simple, has no parts, it's indivisible, indestructible. They are the only substances existing, right? So everything is made out of monads. They're more like souls than bodies. And if that confuses the heck out of you, think of it today as energy. And it really doesn't help. But if you think, well, you know, there are no real physical things, but everything is energy and arrangement, when you get right down to quarks, quarks are spins, but there's nothing spinning.
Mm-hmm.
There's spins even though there's nothing spinning, and you're like, I conceive of that. You know, it's really not, you know, because it doesn't fit our understanding of the way things are. I always think of things as having characteristics. And so if something's spinning, something is spinning. The spin itself is the thing. And that's what's weird. And then you've got different kinds of spins. And you think, well, how can, you know, if I'm picturing like a spin, you know, like, you know, in the ocean, you know, it's the water that's doing that, you know, and so there's something that's doing that. But theoretically, quarks have no stuff. And and you put quarks together, and that's what creates particles that then in turn together, and they have charges because of the spin. That's where the charge comes from, because of the spin. But so here's Leibniz apparently thinking, well, the smallest possible thing has to have no parts, because otherwise it could be made smaller by having whatever the part was. And so everything is made out of energy. And each monad is a microcosm or universe in miniature, a mirror of the entire universe. The nearest thing I can get to that is if we think in terms of fractals.
Yeah.
The idea of the fractal nature of the universe, that everything just keeps repeating at another time. You know, I puzzle over, I was thinking yesterday that I'm an arboreal normal, instead of Abby Normal, you know, the name of that character that Igor brought, you know, the brain back. You know, Abby something, you know. But arboreal normal, if you think, why do, like, I'm looking at trees, they're all the same species, they're all in the same general location, they get the same amount of sunshine and so on. Some of them have turned yellow, and others are still green. Some are half. Look at that one. That one's completely yellow. You know, the red ones, of course, are the Japanese cherry, choke cherry, so they're different species. But when you think, okay, so all those trees right there are the same species, and yet some are greener than the others, and yet they're all right there in the same spot. So why is that? You might say that they have a treeality instead of a personality. Treeality? Is that a good word? You know, some of them are braver than others. You know, I'm going to keep green.
Yeah.
You guys quit. You know, I'm going to be green still longer. You know, so they're competing with one another and stuff.
That's exactly.
And yet they're fractal. They're fractal in nature. So if you zoom in on them, and then zoom in on the leaf, and you zoom in, what you're seeing is the tree becomes the branch, becomes the leaf, becomes the cells in the leaf, etc. So you could use the fractal to just keep going down. There's some really cool, you've probably seen them, right, where it starts off with the universe, zooms down, down, and down, and down, and down, and down, and the solar system, and down, and down, and down, and down, the Earth, down, and down, and down, and you're looking at a Virginia Tech campus, and then down to a tree, and then down to the leaf, and then down to the atoms, and then down to the quarks, and then it looks exactly the same as the original picture of the whole universe, because everything is just repete la phrase all the way down. It's turtles all the way down.
Stop. Oh my God.
But that sounds like Leibniz too. The uncreated monad is God, and he mirrors all things clearly and adequately. The doctrine, I think this is what we have in the text. Not sure if that's the right page number, but there it is. So the doctrine of pre-established harmony. Everything works. This is the best of all possible world ties into that. And that's down here, the best of all possible worlds. God is the original infinite monad, his power, his wisdom, his goodness are infinite. Therefore, it's not like he had some practice runs before he got it right. This is the best possible universe. But even physicists today, I think, argue that. My favorite is Brian Greene, who talks about the amount of dark energy and the measurement. And when you look at the concept of possible universes and multiple universes, multiverse, he's got the idea that there's this amount of energy in all of these different possible universes. But what sets our universe off is we have exactly, this minuscule number is exactly right. And thanks to that, we have stars, and we have planets, and we have atmospheres, we have water, and we can have life. And any of the other universes where the number is just off a little bit, and that's what would differentiate the various universes, life would not be possible. And if that's the case, then this is the best of all possible universes, because it's what enables us to have life, which is why we're here, which is why we can be anthropocentric and think, hey, obviously everything was made just for us to be here. Because this is the only universe that possibly could have us, and that's of course the one that we're in. But in a sense, that seems to me to be precisely what Leibniz is talking about. This is best of all possible worlds. It's not that everybody's going to be a millionaire and have 2 chickens in every pot and healthy children and not have floods or earthquakes or volcanic destruction, etc. So Voltaire is making fun of Dr. Pangloss, thinking that this is the best of all possible worlds. Boom, Spain blows up, or a flood comes and wipes out, thousands of people, or the plague, does this, that, and the other thing. Or one of my favorites is
Bernstein.
We will seek a few modest little acres and build a small farm. And casting aside all vain speculations as to the meaning of this meaningless world, we will fulfill our function, working God's earth from dawn to dusk.
So this is an Americanized version of Voltaire's Candide, put to music by Leonard Bernstein. One of his least popular.
Yeah,
That's probably why you never heard of it.
yeah, probably.
It's actually pretty darn good, and we've actually had it performed here, believe it or not. Hardly anybody went.
What is he wearing? That's like half-assed.
But yeah.
That's just staging, I suppose. It's supposed to be like the German
Looks
Lederhosen.
like a German Lenny. Nice and that.
Like, I understand the power behind opera, but like in real life, if some guy was like singing like this to me about something,
Cops.
dude,
Tasting. Pepper spray.
it's just a little, it's intense, you know? You know?
It's supposed to be
You're
intense.
coming on too strong, man.
I'd be the guy in the third row going,
And then that's just weird. See?
That's Chenoweth.
Like, I know it's
Chenoweth.
beautiful, but it's just, I don't know, I find it comedic.
Well, the thing is, this is a comedy, and everybody should be laughing,
Oh, shit.
Well, there you go.
but we're not. And the audience isn't either, and I've never seen the audience laugh, and yet this is hilarious, because all through Candide, you have these characters who are the nobles that keep getting destroyed and stuff. And then they come back, even though they've clearly been killed. You know, and then the next scene, they come walking on. I thought you were dead. I swam ashore. Or whatever. So they keep coming back, and so that's hilarious. This one here has had one of her buttocks cut off at one point.
Only one.
Only one, yeah, and the pirates ate it.
Oh man.
Oh, man.
So
Lovely.
sorry about that.
But you're not, so you should just stop
Is that
saying
before or
sorry.
after they cut?
Stop.
sometimes enlightenment hurts, and other times it's just wonderful.
Introducing new Quaker Sandwich Minis with 8 grams of protein.
This is
Everyone
awesome.
wearing
Three
some
amigos.
breath. Your butt looks intact to me, man.
Well,
Does she have like a fake implant now? or
yes,
something?
she does. She gets one that lumps up for the.
Probably wearing one of those corsets.
You guys got white sneakers.
Fun.
So it's just
Huh.
hilarious. It's a comedy, and Voltaire's Candide is supposed to be a comedy too. In any case, these nobles, they keep getting destroyed, and then they come back. And in that one scene that I played first, they're singing about we're going to build our own house and plant our own garden and watch our garden grow. And that's absolutely hilarious because these are people that have never done a real decent job in a day in their life, you know. And they think this is just going to be heaven on earth, planting a garden and, you know, building a log cabin. And you know, that's hilarious because, you know, that's not going to work. You know, none of that's going to feed around. But so Candide is making fun of Leibniz the best of all possible worlds. But the thing is, if what we're talking about is that this is the only universe that could support life, that's totally not what Voltaire is making fun of. So all that really does is just show that Voltaire is missing the whole point. Yeah. And of course that's not just Voltaire that thinks that. When a lot of people read, you know, the theory of optimism and this is the best of all possible worlds and everything, they think, yeah, right.
What do they call that?
My car didn't even
Byronic.
start this morning, you know. You know, and so, you know, they're not thinking at the same level that
Doesn't mean it's the best universe for you.
obviously.
Well, I mean, it does actually.
Everything. I mean, the reason
If
we're
you're still
all
here.
dying is because we're alive.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
The number one cause of death is birth.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
I can't.
So what other things are interesting? Leibniz, fascinating. He ends up, I've got to quit, right? It's time. All right, we go to 12:45. I gave you a quiz question. If the tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? You've got to have that one or you're going to be disappointed, and this is a philosophy class.
Yeah.
So,
We didn't have
The
it
Coens.
in Philosophy 101
I've had this.
well, that's logic.
for shape.
So,
So,
like,
I
that's
don't know
logic.
why you would
It's
use
not-
that one in logic.
Yeah.
Unless you were trying to disprove. Well,
However, now you've got it. So I haven't cheated you out of that question.
I had to come up with another answer. You gave me this one before.
That's true. Yeah. Well, you had 201. And you got to cover this in 201, otherwise, yeah.
if a president has a letter on his desk and somebody takes it,
Was it really there?
He's still asking for that to come back, you know. So he's going to sign it one of these days,
Right.
and hopefully the.
does he notice it?
He
And
did not
he-
perceive it.
Yeah, if he doesn't see
I don't think he will, because I know he's not going to read the book.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't read anything, you know. It's, you know.
He doesn't have time for
According
that.
to
He's
the-
too busy.
According to the book, he doesn't read anything.
He's
So
too
I don't
busy
know why.
tweeting.
He's too busy.
Trouble is, he's watching Fox News, and Fox News has all sorts of stuff going on about the book. So you know
Dude, for a psycho, he's keeping it interesting.
it sounded interesting though when they're all having lunch, and the one says, you know, the biggest worry is that, you know, North Korea is going to develop the nuclear bomb, and they're going to have a missile capable of delivering it to the home country, to here. And as they walk in, they've screened some, you know, the big screen on with Fox News with the sound off has an image of, you know, the missiles that North Korea is firing into the Sea of Japan, and you know, like, we've got to do something of it, you know.
I see North Korea is
the
not
book
the biggest
Fear.
worry. Even if they do develop it, it's who they sell it to.
Well, yeah.
Some radical Islamic
Pakistan
group
is
gets
already
all
there,
those
so-
missiles.
Yeah,
Or
non-proliferation is always like...
Well, have a good Wednesday. See you Thursday.
Thursday.
And I've got to fix my syllabi, because how did I screw that up?